The immortals were the top soldiers in the Persian army, 10,000 full-time fighters who protected the king and formed the heart of the Achaemenid military. This elite group was started by Cyrus the Great in the 6th century BC. They weren't just bodyguards. These were the empire's best-trained, most reliable and flexible warriors. No matter what happened, their number always stayed at 10,000. That's why Greek writers later called them the immortals. But their strength didn't come from legend. It came from intense training, deep loyalty, and smart tactics. This is the real story of one of the first true professional armies, how they were formed, how they fought, and why their legacy still matters today. To understand the immortals, you need to look at the empire that built them. In the mid-6th century BCE, the ancient world was filled with rival kingdoms. Older powers like Babylon and Egypt were weakening, creating space for new leaders to rise. One of them was Cyrus the Great. Starting from a small kingdom in what's now southwestern Iran, he quickly built the Achaemenid Empire, the biggest the world had seen at that point. His rise was fast and impressive. He overthrew the Medes, conquered Lydia, and eventually took Babylon, the rich center of Mesopotamia. But winning battles wasn't enough. To hold an empire that stretched from the Balkans to the Indus Valley, Cyrus needed more than numbers. He needed a reliable, professional army that could represent the full strength of his rule. He needed a force that didn't just fight, but made his power clear to everyone. The Achaemenid military was huge and had many smart features. But at its core was this elite unit of 10,000 men. They were the king's closest offenders, the military's top soldiers, and a very early version of what we now call special forces. The Greeks, especially the historian Herodotus, gave them the name immortals. So, who were these warriors? Their story began with the empire itself. Most historians agree that Cyrus officially created the unit, likely around the time he conquered Babylon in 539 BCE. After seeing the challenges of major battles like the one at Opis, he probably realized the need for a permanent, highly skilled fighting force that could break enemy lines and secure victory. That's when the immortals were born. The name wasn't magical. It came from a clever and intimidating system. According to Herodotus, the group always had exactly 10,000 members. If one died, got sick, or left, a replacement stepped in immediately. To their enemies, who saw the same force show up again and again, fully intact no matter what, it felt like they couldn't be defeated. It was psychological warfare. Before the battle even started, the enemy's confidence took a hit. So, how did someone join this elite group? Becoming an immortal wasn't easy. Recruits were usually picked from noble families in Persia, Media, and Elam, regions loyal to the throne. This helped ensure their commitment to the empire. Although details vary, most agree that training started young. Boys from these families learned to ride horses, shoot bows, and handle harsh conditions. They were raised to value honor and truth, following the teachings of Zoroastrianism, the empire's main religion. Only the most capable and disciplined made it into the immortals. Once accepted, they lived a life far above the regular soldier. They were known for their wealth, wearing gold jewelry and even clothes decorated with gems. When they traveled for battle, they brought along special food, supplies, personal servants, and even companions. This wasn't just about comfort or showing off. The immortals didn't just earn respect with their skills. They showed it off with pride. Their appearance and lifestyle clearly marked them as an elite group. This wasn't just for looks. It kept their spirits high and their loyalty strong. Within this elite force, there was an even more exclusive unit, the king's personal bodyguard. This group had 1,000 hand-picked soldiers, instantly recognizable by the golden ornaments shaped like pomegranates on the ends of their spears. That detail gave them the nickname apple-bearers. The rest of the immortals carried spears with silver pomegranate ends. Being part of the immortals meant you were at the very top, not just in the military, but in Persian society. They were trusted protectors of the empire and living symbols of royal power. Their legendary status didn't come from stories alone. It was proven in battle. While modern media often shows them as monstrous or mystical, the real immortals were highly skilled and smart soldiers. Their appearance alone made an impact. They wore bright, colorful outfits over flexible armor, made of iron scales that shimmered like fish skin, both protective and easy to move in. On their heads, they wore soft caps called tiaras, which they could pull down for sun and dust protection. But it was their weapons and how they used them that set them apart. Each immortal trained in 3 main weapons: the bow, the spear, and a short sword. This gave them a major edge over many other troops of time. Unlike Greek hoplites, who mostly used spears, immortals could fight from any distance. Their defense came from large, rectangular shields made from woven wicker and leather. While not as tough as the Greek bronze shields, these were lightweight and could be placed on the ground to create a moving shield wall, called a sparabara. Archers could fire from behind it while staying protected. Their attack plan was as smart as it was deadly. First, they would move forward behind their shields to set up a strong defensive line. Then, their archers would fire wave after wave of arrows over the shield wall, causing chaos and breaking up enemy ranks before close combat even started. A Spartan once joked that if Persian arrows blocked the sun, they'd simply fight in the shade. But these arrows weren't just for show. They were designed to mess with the enemy's formations and clear the way for a full assault. Once the arrows had done their job, immortal spearmen would charge in with short, 6-foot spears, perfect for the tight, crushing space of shield-to-shield combat. And when the battle turned into a close brawl, they'd switch again, this time to their short sword, the akinates. Fast, sharp, and deadly in close quarters. This smooth switch from long range to hand made the immortals incredibly effective and hard to predict. They could adjust quickly to whatever the fight required. And they didn't fight alone. The rest of the Persian army, especially the powerful cavalry units, worked alongside them. While the immortals held the center of the battlefield, cavalry forces would crash into the enemy's sides. Together, they formed a balanced and deadly force. It was a well-coordinated attack strategy led by some of the most disciplined fighters in the world. The immortals earned their reputation through real victories across the vast Achaemenid Empire. They took part in battles that helped shape the ancient world. Their first major test came at the Battle of Opis in 539 BCE. Cyrus the Great faced the Babylonian army and won. Although we don't know every detail, Babylonian records confirm a major Persian victory. The immortals likely played a key role, using their well-trained tactics to break the enemy line and help open the path to Babylon. This one gave Persia control over the richest lands in Mesopotamia and locked in the immortals' place as the empire's elite fighting force. Years later, in 525 BCE, they helped lead the conquest of Egypt under Cyrus's son, Cambyses II. At the Battle of Pelusium, they went up against the Egyptian army. A later story, written by a 2nd century author named Polyaenus, claims that during the Persian invasion of Egypt, they used animals, especially cats, which were sacred in Egyptian culture, to mess with the enemy's morale. While many historians doubt the story is true, it reflects the immortals' reputation for using not just strength but strategy and psychological tricks in battle. But their most famous and most difficult battle came in 480 BCE at Thermopylae. King Xerxes led a huge invasion into Greece and was stopped at a narrow pass by a small Greek force led by King Leonidas and 300 Spartans. When Xerxes' regular troops couldn't break through, he sent in his best, the immortals, led by their commander Hydarnes. The immortals move in, expecting to crush the Greek defenders. But the narrow terrain gave them no room to maneuver, and their lighter armor and shorter spears were no match for the Greek hoplites' long weapons and heavy bronze armor. According to Herodotus, the immortals fought hard but suffered major losses and had to retreat. The Persians only took the pass after a local showed them a hidden mountain trail to sneak behind the Greek lines. Even though Persia won the battle, Thermopylae showed that even the immortals had limits. Their last major stand came in 331 BCE at Gaugamela. This time, they were guarding King Darius III against the forces of Alexander the Great. Alexander had studied Persian tactics and trained his army to defeat them. The immortals fought to protect their king, but they couldn't stop Alexander's cavalry charge, which broke through their lines and forced Darius to flee. That defeat marked the end of the Achaemenid Empire, and with it, the immortals. But the story didn't completely end there. Alexander admired Persian culture so much that he kept elite Persian troops in his own guard and even adopted some Persian customs. While the immortals as a unit disappeared, their idea lived on. Their true legacy lies in what they created. One of history's first permanent professional armies. In a time when most soldiers were farmers called up in times of war, the Immortals were full-time fighters who trained year-round. They set the standard for elite royal guards. Their influence can be seen in later groups like Rome's Praetorian Guard and the Byzantine Empire's Varangian Guard. They also changed the way armies fought. Their ability to combine archers, spearmen, and cavalry into one coordinated force was a major breakthrough. Victory didn't come from one weapon. It came from smart teamwork, something modern militaries still rely on today. It's also worth clearing up some myths. The monstrous, mask-wearing warriors shown in movies like 300 are just fantasy, based on biased Greek stories written long after the fact. The real Immortals were much more impressive. They were skilled, disciplined, and highly respected soldiers who represented the strength and structure of a powerful empire. Their name didn't come from magic, but from a carefully designed system that kept their numbers full, their image powerful, and their enemies intimidated. In fact, some scholars think the name Immortals may have come from a misunderstanding. Herodotus, the Greek historian who popularized the term, might have mixed up the old Persian word anousia, companions, with anosia, immortals. Still, the name stuck. Whether known as companions or immortals, their impact was the same. They were the sharp edge of the Persian military, always at the center of the empire's biggest victories. For over 200 years, the Immortals were one of the most respected military forces on the planet. Their story reminds us that in war, it's not just weapons that matter, but planning, discipline, and unity. Their reputation for being immortal came from a system that never let them fall below 10,000, backed by rich rewards and psychological warfare. They were pioneers of a new kind of fighting, mixing long-range and close combat with unmatched professionalism. They helped build the largest empire of their time, faced off against the Spartans at Thermopylae and Alexander at Gaugamela, and even in defeat, they left their mark. The Immortals were more than soldiers. Their name, once feared across battlefields, still stands as a symbol of elite strength, strategy, and legacy that never truly fades. The story of the Immortals is more than just a tale of warriors. It's a blueprint for what elite military power can look like. For over 2 centuries, they stood as the backbone of the Persian Empire, blending skill, strategy, and loyalty into an unstoppable force. They weren't legends because of magic or myth, but because of their unmatched discipline, adaptability, and presence on the battlefield. Even their enemies respected them. Though the Achaemenid Empire eventually fell, the Immortals' influence never truly disappeared. Their structure, tactics, and legacy helped shape the future of organized warfare, leaving echoes in every elite guard that came after them. They proved that true strength lies in unity, preparation, and purpose, and that a name built on excellence doesn't fade with time. The Immortals may be gone, but their example lives on, reminding the world what it truly means to be the best.